Hey guys, that's your Commander today, Watcher of Realms. Today, as promised, we're gonna follow up on yesterday's video. It's the other half that you guys were actually surprisingly asking for. So we graded all the legendaries that I've ever maxed out on the account yesterday. For the most part, you guys seem to pretty much agree with my gradings, those of you who have experience with these legendaries. So if you missed that video again and you want to see all the legendaries, kind of how I have them built out, who I have awakened, blah blah blah, where I use some of them, we'll check out yesterday's video. But for today, we're gonna focus on the epics, and this one should be a bit shorter than yesterday's because I have less epics maxed out as opposed to legendaries. So we have Hollow, number one, and what an appropriate number one, right? Hollow is so unbelievably good. I would say she is a top 3 epic in the entire game. Now that's very tough to say because we know Dolores is going to be in there in that conversation because she's probably number 1. So Hollow, she's an amazing rage regenerator, one of the best in the game, certainly the best epic in the game, but she's still in the conversation with like an Elowen and a Leia for rage regen, you know, as her main skill, her main highlight. But she also can heal, right? On her Light of Bliss, she can get a better healing multiplier, and she can heal through Guild Boss, right? So she's a competent healer. I remember when I started playing, somebody was like, yeah, I mean, she's good for rage regen, but she's not a good healer. No, I mean, they were wrong. Is she the best healer? No. Is she a, you know, can she heal you through all the content in the game, like all Void Rift or whatever? No, but she's still a competent healer, you know? Euphoric Orb as an artifact on her. I think every epic that I use a lot, I have fully awakened, right? And she gets so much better, obviously. Each Light of Bliss increases the efficiency of the accumulating rage by 15% until the battle ends, stacking up to 5 times. Such a broken, busted A5 ability. I love it. I really, really love Hollow. Clearly here, what do I have on her? I have attack bonus, I have attack speed, and I have healing effect as my 3 artifacts on the right. Most importantly, I do have invigoration on her, so we can give her and a random ally plus 10% attack. We'll give that to I think we'll give that to Setrum on my guild boss configuration right now. Setrum, Silas, or Hex, I forget which one. Either way, maybe Silas. Either way, Hollow's amazing. Okay, point proven, hopefully taken. S tier, Wrath. Oh man, it is crazy in this game. It's crazy that you're given a fighter this good this early on. It's crazy in a good way. Moonton is so damn receptive to everything that anybody says in this game that I fear that if I talk too fondly about one particular champion, that they're going to be like, or hero, they're going to be like, oh, maybe they need a nerf too. Maybe Boreas 2.0 there, Ashy Poo. I love Wrath because he does a hell of a lot of damage. He's a very high DPS fighter, and as you guys are already aware, once you can get this dude Awakened 5, he can heal himself. He has like a built-in lifesteal, essentially, for those of you familiar with Raid, right? When the heavy blow is triggered, this hero restores HP equal to 30% total of the damage dealt. So strong. That allows him to do things that most even legendary fighters can't do. You can do a lot of damage and keep himself alive at the same time. A 5 out of 5, a S tier, I think, on Wrath. Idril, another S tier. The thing that we've mentioned this so many times here on the channel, guys, but it's worth saying again, right? I feel like especially beginners in this game, you're gonna get lucky inevitably, and you're gonna pull a couple legendary heroes eventually, right? Even if you don't think it will happen to you if you just started playing the game, right? Even my free-to-play thumbnail artist, shout out to Henrique, right? He started his free-to-play account, and he's already got his hands on, I think, 5 or 6 legendaries in a month or two, you know? So you're gonna get them, but I think it's a big mistake to go after mediocre legendaries instead of pouring all of your resources into above average epics, just because they're so much easier to get duplicate copies of to awaken, right? It's so difficult to awaken a legendary. It's so much easier, not to mention skill crystals and everything else. So I fully awakened Idril, again, S tier on Idril, right? I hate to be so repetitive with the S tiers, but there's a reason that I've invested in these epics. I use them in some cases more than legendaries on my account. You know, not every legendary, but most of my legendaries. Idril's so good because, again, I mean, you guys know why. She can hit everything on the map and she does a lot of damage and she's cheap. I have her total stats 8,300 on the attack. I have her attack speed at 204. She's 100% crit rate and 288 88 crit damage. I love Idril, man. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Idril? I have Pin of Precision as an artifact. If this hero hasn't received any damage within the last 6 seconds, their damage will be increased by 16%. So yeah, Idril, I freaking love. Just gear, because a few of you guys asked me on some of my most used champions on the previous video that can you show what gear you have on them. So I'll show, not for everybody, but for my most used, right? I have crit damage, and I have attack bonus on Idril. Keep in mind that I use her exclusively in conjunction with Dolores. That's why I go crit damage, right? Because she's already getting a massive attack bonus from Inspiration on Dolores. And that's something that you guys can use as well. If you're not sure whether to go double crit damage on main stats or to go a double attack percentage on main stats, well, if you're using an Inspiration like a Dolores or a Percy or a Constance, well, maybe that might push the pendulum a little bit, or swing the pendulum, I guess, in the direction of going to crit damage in that case, because you're already getting that big boost on the attack. Not every situation, but it's a nice kind of, it's a consideration. S tier Idril. Aveline, either way, she's half woman, half horse, and I love her. I got a thing for horses, apparently. I really love Aveline. She's not my favorite defender in the game or anything like that. She does deal AoE damage on her Iron Stomp, and then she has a increased defense permanently by 25%. That's her passive as well. She's a solid tank, you know? I like her because she's, well, a solid tank. She has good base stats for an epic, 28k and 3000 defense. I only use her, though, exclusively for faction trials, right? So I use her for Northerner faction trials, and I think I use her for Watcher as well. So that's why I maxed her out, right? At Awakened 5, when shielded, defense increases by 15%. She doesn't have a shield. She doesn't have a unkillable. She doesn't have anything that I really look for in my tanks, my defenders. But what she does have is tankiness. All right, next up is going to be Baron. Baron is a boss. He is my third favorite defender in the game. I'm not saying he's the third best, but I think he's a top 5, maybe a top 10, top 5 defender in the entire game. He does have all those things. I forgot where I ranked him in my top 10 defenders, maybe around the 4 or 5 spot, somewhere in that location. But I think the only clear defenders that I would choose over Baron in a vacuum in the entire game gonna be Olog and Brokir, you know? Now, obviously, if I could choose, I'd pick a Torador or something, just because they're scarce. But I'm saying scarcity removed, right? So Baron's base stats, they're not bad, right? They're not quite as much as HP as Aveline, but he does have those two things that we're looking for, right? First of all, he deals some damage, which is nice from a defender. He has unkillable, and he has a big shield, right? And if you can get him again fully awakened, I have the Watchguard's Unity on him, max HP plus 18%. I'll take it. Fully awakened on this guy, recovers 50% HP at the end of Immortal Wrath's duration. At the end of his unkillable, he's getting that HP back, and he's increasing the duration on A3. Again, I mean, he's a great tank, and if you can get duplicate copies of him and get him awakened, he's even better. I'll give Baron A+. Aveline, I'll give a B-, right? She's definitely not a meta hero, but she's a serviceable defender. Aeon is a lord, as you guys are probably familiar, right? She's a pretty cool, she's a cultist lord, so if you don't have Morrigan, obviously you're going to be using a lot of Aeon. She's a very competent control and debuffer, right? You're not looking for damage from this hero. She does have a little bit of AoE damage, which is nice. She has that vortex that pulls everybody in and gives them a slow of 75%, which is a really, obviously, it's a high tier, S tier slow in the game. Some weak slows are like 25% or 50%. She got the 75% version. Most importantly, though, she has physical damage and magic damage reduction, decrease, both debuffs by 20%. That's on her basic attacks. So you want to build her nice and fast on the attack speed as well. Really an incredibly competent, a very, very good debuffer, right, for your team. Deals 100% extra damage to controlled targets on her A5. Okay, interesting. I forgot she had that. Basic attacks and skills increase the duration of damage taken debuff on the target by 1 second. Again, powerful on the awakenings. I think she's very, very good. What do I even have on an artifact? The North Storm, I would not really look into that too much. Some of these epics I don't use a lot, because I do have Morrigan on my account, so I don't use a lot of Aeon, but she's very, very good. In some ways, she brings maybe a bit more to the table in the control and the debuffs, you know? And like that control is so cool, like literally pulls them into her vortex. Anyway, I digress. I will give her an A. I think she's really solid. Vortex for me is an S tier. I'm starting with his artifact. I have HP at maximum, increasing his healing effect by 36. He's such a good healer. He's such a good shielder, and his range is unparalleled in the game. What more do I want to say? What more can I say about Vortex? I have obviously HP percentage, and HP percentage as my main stats on the right-hand side. He's not my most used healer because one area that's probably the most stacked on my entire account would be healers. I have Leia and I have Elowen. Obviously, I have I have Fercy, who I really love as well. I have Ezrin. I have a lot of good healers, all the good healers. He's not my most used, but the fact that I have all those legendary healers and I still use Vortex a ton, I ought to say something, right? He's very good. S tier. Oh, Maul is a real fun one. If you can get him to Awaken 5, right? He has a massive cost reduction of -5, which is really strong with him because, well, he costs a lot. I think he's 22 base cost. Also on his A3, his Salt Erosion will inflict slow, a 75% slow. That's huge. So getting him to A3 is great. But then even A1 is great. This is one of the most important awakening epics in the game. At A1, Abyssal Surge inflicts freeze with knockback. Maul can dish out some big boy damage. He's really 900% AoE damage and a knockback on his Abyssal Surge. You know, the one that the shark comes out of nowhere. It's like, I hear the Jaws theme and I start panicking, man. Start getting scared a little bit here. I think Maul is amazing. I'm going to give him an A+. I think I want to make sure. I think he's the second strongest marksman epic in the game. Now, I think as you approach the end game, I want to say that his damage becomes less of the number one emphasis of his kit, and it's all about his freeze, his defense reduction. I didn't even mention that, and his slow. Such good control and debuffs from this dude. He really does have a kit that feels like a legendary, doesn't he, guys? I mean, yeah, he's amazing. He's an A+ for sure. Mari, another. What do you get Mari on, like day 3? Golly, she's so freaking good. I don't know how. Okay, I have her geared out with a lot of attack speed, right? So we have HP bonus, we have attack speed, and we have rage regen. One of the best controllers in the game, you know? This Blizzard ultimate, it's expensive. That's the only downside, but it's just like this massive AoE freeze, right? And the freeze is a 4-second freeze, especially in areas where you have to control a large group of enemies, namely Gear Raid 1. But who knows, in the future, I feel like Void Rift, I feel like even Faction Trials, I feel like most of the areas in this game, you don't have to deal with a ton of just massive explosion of mobs at the same time, you know? So if they ever do introduce more content like that, her value is just gonna go higher and higher and higher, and it's already high. Now, the cool thing about her is even beyond the slow and the freeze, you know, that we've talked about so far, she also has vulnerability to physical and magic damage again as well, because targets inflicted with slow by Mari will also have that, and she has slow on her basic. We'll also have the debuffs, excuse me. She has slow on her basic. So what does this mean? If you build her with a lot of attack speed that I did, she can basically keep physical damage or increase physical damage, well, you guys get what I'm saying. Keep her debuffs up all the time on the guild boss. Very good boss killer. You name it, she's very good. I have Nightmare Samsara, very good legendary artifact on her as well. Give her an A+. Greed, Nightmare Samsara also on Greed. Greed is also a freebie in the game. Greed's good, man. He's got slow, he's got control, and he's got a lot of damage. Big AoE nuker again. The thing about Greed, though, is I'm not quite as high on him as I am like a Maul, okay? Definitely a fun hero, but I do think that he tapers off after the mid game as you start progressing to the end game. That's my opinion. I'm sure some of you guys will definitely disagree with me there, but I have, you know, played him extensively. That all being said, I'll give him a B. I'll give him a B. All right, Pyros. I mentioned this on my legendary video too, but a fully awakened Pyros is, he's better than a Soul Cadence, you know? He is the king of infernal guild boss teams. You just got to build them super, super, super fast, right? I have HP bonus, I have attack speed, I have rage regen, and I have a whirlwind set on him. My total attack speed is 580 here on Pyros, right? We want him fast. As our top priority. So I will give Pyros a A+. It's weird because he's so niche, but so good in his niche, so he's hard to grade. But yeah, Guild Boss S tier. Oh, Loggy, my number 2 defender in the game on my tier list. You could even make a case he's number 1. Heck, you could even, it just his self shield. His self shield is so massive, or silver shield. So massive, it's so unbelievably massive, and then if you awaken him, he gets even tankier. He has damage reduction on his A5, right? On his A3 he gets tankier. On his A2 he gets tankier. Defense, damage reduction, you name it. Oh yeah, he's a big boy tank, a big boy defender, and I love him. I have defense bonus, I have HP bonus, and I have HP bonus. I did a lot of testing with Olog, honestly. I used to have HP on the right-hand side, but I found in some areas he does benefit a bit from having the defense bonus as well, so I went that route. Olog doesn't have my best gear on the account or anything like that on him, but the cool thing is I don't find him super gear intensive, right? He's just a machine, you know? Whether you're end game, early game, it doesn't matter. I think he's S tier. Navres, the Scarecrow, right? The Scarecrow. I really like this guy. I made a whole video about him. I really like him. He cannot stand toe to toe to the, like, you know, to the B+ and beyond tier damage dealers when we talk about legendaries, right? But everything beyond that, like, he's a tier down, right? But he's got a lot of damage, man, and his ultimate as well summons spirit ravens to attack random targets in range, each raven dealing 70% magic damage lasting for 12 seconds. You can get the damage up, obviously, with awakening and blah, blah, blah. The spirit raven is just like, it's not intuitive just by reading the ultimate, but they're like never ending. It's just like, it's like a machine gun of ravens. So 70% magic damage, I think it throws a lot of players off. They're like, okay, that doesn't sound too exciting, whatever, right? But boy, it is exciting, right? He summons a Scarecrow that will explode on contact every 3 basic attacks. You build him with a decent amount of attack speed as well. He's definitely a very fun and very competent damage dealer as well. I'm gonna give him a B. Titus, F. Man, I made a video about Titus. It's the meme of the channel. I use Titus still. I still use Titus in faction trials, right? However, fact of the matter is you can't heal him. That's his claim to fame is 2 things. Number 1 is he can't be healed. He's a defender who can't be healed. Number 2 is he is the most expensive unit in Watcher of Realms at a 31 cost, right? I want to say that's right, 31. Let's take a look here. Yes, 31 cost. He does self-revive and he does self-heal though, okay? He's really important, at least to me, in Infernal Faction Trial because I'm lacking a lot of good Infernal tanks, you know? I'm not gonna get into a Titus thing, but I think I would love to see a buff to the most expensive cost unit inside the game in Titus. Make it so he can't self-heal, but mitigate his healing by 50%, like all healing that goes to Titus, or shielding. He can't be shielded either. It's all like it's watered down, but it's not totally negated, you know? Anyway, sorry, Titus. Aatrox, he's really cool, man. He's like a mini Cerberus, but in a lot of ways, he's I can't say better, but in some areas he's better. He doesn't do the damage that Cerberus does, right? But he kills himself. He does like the AoE death damage, right? But the thing about him is his revival time. It's so short, unlike Cerberus, right? So that's his claim to fame for me. He's really cool. He's kind of niche. He only costs 6 at first, right? So a very, very cheap cost. His revival time is only 15 seconds. Revival time, 15 seconds with a 6 cost, right? However, his revival time does go up the more every single time that you revive him, right? So cannot be healed by allies. Revival time is greatly reduced. Upon each revival, revival time will increase by 6 seconds in damage damage by 5%, stacking up to 3 times. I mean, he's really fun in arena, in areas like that. I had an old arena video with he and Cerberus, and oh man, they're a dynamic duo when you put them together as well. I'll give him a B+. I mean, where he's good, he's very good. Just a little bit niche. All right, we have Mr. Vladov. So Vladov is a chaotic and a nightmare unit here. He is really a very high DPS fighter for an epic, right? He also increases attack speed by 30 for 8 seconds each time after taking damage. I did a whole guide on him, so I'm not going to go in great detail, but he's a lord too. He's really one of the most difficult epics to get your hands on. He has really good burst damage. Yeah, I mean, what else to say about him? I do think that the only problem is, again, like, I think he's outshined. There's some really good legendary fighters, newsflash, in this game. And I feel like when you get to a certain point, outside of his Lord ability, like obviously getting a chaotic Lord is very difficult. But outside of that, I feel like, you know, you'll eventually, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, get your hands on better DPS options in time. That's what happened to me on my account. All that being said is it just goes to show his scarcity that he's Awakened 3, and I think he's my only non-fully awakened epic. Maybe I'm wrong there, but it feels that way. I will give him a B+. Dolores S tier. I mean, she is, I said it earlier, she's the best epic in the game. You could even make a strong case that she's the best hero in Watcher of Realms. What else can I say about her? She has inspiration, and she has the most potent form of inspiration in the game by a mile. That's it. That's Dolores. I do have Keen Wisdom on her. I think Keen Wisdom is the way to go on Dolores, right? When there's an ally within 1 tile, increases attack by 16%, because all we're trying to do with Dolores is get her to as high attack as humanly possible. So I have attack bonus, and attack bonus. Equally as importantly, I guess, I have Invigoration on her. I'd highly recommend you guys go with Invigoration, and again, go with Keen Wisdom, the epic artifact, even if you're in the end game. That would be my suggestion to you guys. Invigoration, again, we get a healing effect bonus, which is nice. She's not a great healer, but you know, we'll take the healing effect bonus. But when deployed, most importantly, this hero will gain 10% attack, and another hero in range as well, right? So Dolores is going to be amazing. If you want to dictate which hero in range gets that attack bonus, just put them like in front of her or whatever, and then put her as the next unit, and it will go to the only other unit there. Then you can stagger into your other units. Livian is a pretty good, I would say, a pretty good defender. Again, she's kind of like Aveline to me, because I invested in her because I really needed a tank in either Piercer or Watcher faction trials. Frankly, I forget which one, right? She doesn't have a lot of HP. Her defense is pretty solid. She costs 18. Pretty standard, pretty chalk. But if I remember correctly, she has receives the Blessing of the Elf, where she gains physical damage reduction permanently. And then she has a shield bounce ability that she can restore more HP off of that. She has a stun on the shield bounce. Shield bounce gives her a stun. It's some control in her kit as well. So, you know, she's pretty basic, I will say, but she's serviceable. I'll give her a B-. All right, we have AI. Oh, AI, you're gonna ruin the world someday, but not you, AI. I really love AI. I have a soft spot for AI. She can do, in the right situation, she can deal some insane damage. I've seen some really crazy AI DPS videos where she just goes nutso. She puts down these crystal bombs everywhere. She's a trap champion, a trap controller, right? She puts down these crystal bombs, they explode, they do a bunch of damage. Magic damage, not AoE, it just feels like AoE because they're everywhere, right? And she's just such a good lockdown control because there's such good freeze synergy. Wait. AoE damage equal to 680% attack? So they can do AoE damage. My bad, guys. It's been a while since I've read her kit, to be honest with you guys. But she's also sneaky good as a disruptor in Guild Wars. So if you have her there, give her a try in her defense. I will give her a B. Thein! Obviously, I haven't played him in a while. I have gold gear still on him left over from whenever. I'll say Thein, for me on my account, has been relegated to a faction trial hero only, but he's pretty dang good. Thein is not the damage dealer that I had hoped for when I initially maxed him out. I had heard can do some pretty cool damage. I will say that, yeah, sure, damage, like in the early game, he can absolutely be a competent marksman for damage, but his claim to fame is very similar to like a Maul with a little bit less damage, right? But he has a very, very, very good slow, right? It's tied to his large saber, excuse me, that does AoE damage, and he has only a 50% movement speed. It's only 2 seconds, but I mean, when you put them all, just try them out if you have them. Those of you in the comments who have them, let me know if you still use them and where you do. But I just know in faction trials, I remember being blown away with just him throwing that saber and just controlling like a boss, you know? I really like him. I have him fully awakened as well, so I'm sure he gets quite a bit better. What does he do? Blade triggered by the blade deals damage to a larger area, and it stays in place. And it also restores rage on his large saber by 50 on A3 as well. I really like Thein. I'll give him a B+. I'm a big fan. Azoth! Oh, Azoth. I did a whole video on him. He's kind of like Scarecrow to me. I kind of put him, what did I give Scarecrow? A B- or something? I'll give him the same score. He's a really competent epic mage. He really is. He's not going to dish out like the most insane damage you've ever seen, but he's one of the higher damage epic mages out there. And the cool thing about this guy is you can keep him going with his never-ending ultimate, right? His ultimate, when activated, increased crit damage by 120%, crit rate by 20%, crit rate increased by 5% per second for 30 seconds, or until the hero crits 10 times. The thing about this guy is, I forgot what the artifact is, but I'll link my video on him. If you want more info on him, I'll link my video. You can build him in such a way that he never stops with his ultimate, Paradise Blood. It lasts so long anyway, for 30 seconds. He's able to easily get that rage reactivated, and thus that allows you to build him lower crit rate and et cetera, and just prioritizing attack and crit damage. Really cool, but again, maybe a B-. I think Laurel is S tier, you know, not because of anything she does actively, but because of her talent, where she's restoring allies' rage. She's so unique. She's kind of like Volca. She's very tough to rank, you know, or Lord in that regard. However, she does have rage regen, not the best in the game, but it's rage regen nonetheless. And she also gives a damage increase. So what I always say is there's some times where I feel like players want to leave Laurel on the battlefield. You should, I should say, leave Laurel on the battlefield longer than a lot of people do. I think people become obsessed with putting her down and picking her up immediately. But sometimes you want to let her sit there and give a little bit of damage, especially if some of your heroes are already in their ultimate. Now, that being said, a lot of people don't know this. If you take her away after you just started, let's say I just started Comet's ultimate and it's a 20 seconds long, right? If I remove her, if I retreat her, even though he just started his ultimate, that rage that he gets will be added at the end when he's done with his ultimate as well. So very, very, very strong. I have Nightmare Samsara for obvious reasons as an artifact on her as well. As I said, S tier. Iona. We're getting to some of the epics that I don't use as often, so I'm gonna go a little bit lightning round here. Iona to me is the best DPS mage out of all epics. That being said, is she doesn't scale just because, like, basically her base stats, you know, she doesn't scale as well as, you know, when you eventually hopefully get your hands on some of the better legendary mages, right? So she carried me hard through the early and the mid game. I'm gonna give her a B+. Lightlock. I'm not a big fan of Lightlock after his nerf, his big nerf. He used to be a beast damage dealer. Now he's just I would say a pretty average healer. So I'm gonna give him a C. We have Lily. Actually, I like her better than Lightlock, and she's the starting healer that we get in the game. I think she's a competent healer. I'll give her a B-. Not my favorite epic healer by a mile, but she's competent. Brienne I don't use much anymore, as you can tell from the artifacts here, from the gear, excuse me. Artifacts are here in this game, the gear is over here. Brienne can deal some nice damage. Brienne is who you want to use when you need some great damage marksman, especially for air units, right? She's very, very good. Excels, I would say second to Idril, against air targets for DPS out of marksman, epic marksman that is. I'll give her a B+. Dalian I use in Gear Raid 3 as a cost. She was the first hero that I invested in, and she's only at level 50, so I guess I technically didn't even max her, right? But you don't need to max her either. You just need to give her enough survivability. So you can see a lot of HP stacked on her, HP bonus, HP bonus, HP bonus, and invigoration. So I used her to invigorate Silas in Gear Raid 3 so we can kill the boss, and she can kind of tank as well. She can tank a hit and keep my Idril and my Dolores alive. So I'll give her a, you can see on her skills, by the way, increase attack, whatever, on her ultimate, the passive. Restores 15 costs for all allies every 25 seconds. Very strong, very strong. I hope I'm not wrong here. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I want to say that Dalian is the best cost reduction unit in the game. That's what I heard somewhere, but I haven't like gone through the entire list. These aren't max, so you know, we'll just go on the ones that I use a little bit, who I don't have fully maxed. But Scorch, I think Scorch is pretty cool. I don't think he's like a super game changer. The reviews are really nice on this dude. I'm gonna give him a B-. Janquar, same thing, a B-. Kind of a dude that I use in faction trials just to kind of get me through. We have Komodo. Komodo, I think I like a little bit less than Janquar and Scorch. Let me see the reviews on this guy. They're actually pretty good too. I don't use him enough, honestly, to speak on him. So guys, there it is. Those are my, that's my epic roster. Are there any glaring missing epics? By the way, I haven't built him yet, haven't used him, but I pulled Deimos. I think he's gonna be S tier. I hope he's gonna be S tier, but I haven't actually built him all the way yet. Also, I should mention, Nasandi, I think is a B+. I think she's my second favorite healer, not including Hollow, out of all epics next to Vortex. She's a really competent epic healer. Her compared to a Lily, I was really impressed because they're both piercers, right? I was really impressed how much she can out heal a Lily, even with the stats that I have right now, not fully promoted or anything like that, right? So I would give her a B+. She's definitely worth checking out. Anyway, guys, as I was about to say, if there's anybody that a glaring missing epic, because I pretty much have them all or had them all at some point, let me know. Let me know who I should invest in, guys. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.